Hey, what's up? It's Steve with the Range Minded Podcast with another tactical tip. Let's talk about choices. Life's full of choices, but in this case, let's talk about semi or revolver. What's a good handgun choice for you for self-defense? Let's dig into it. All right, like I said, there's tons of choices in life when it comes to personal self-defense carry. Do I want to carry a revolver? Do I want to carry semi-auto? What size? What caliber? The choices are almost infinite. But maybe we can dig into some things here and help you decide at least revolver or semi-auto. All right, let's just jump right into it. Let's start with my little Smith here. This model 27, great little gun. Fantastic, wonderful to shoot, by the way. Revolvers have been a part of the gun culture for a very, very long time. And since its inception, people have chosen revolvers to use as a defensive carry tool. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. They're dependable. They seem to be a little bit easier to use when it comes to gross motor skills, right? When it's a life-threatening situation, a lot of times we lose our dexterity. And so something that's really mechanical and clunky, we can handle and use. So when it comes to revolvers, they've been known for somewhat a simplistic design. You press the trigger, it rotates the cylinder, advances the hammer, and lets it fly. A lot of people like the idea of simplicity. Some people get hung up really bad, like on, I can't rack the slide or whatever on a semi-auto. So they lean towards a revolver for the simplicity of use. And honestly, I can understand that. I get that because they're so simple and mechanical, right? That's why people are leaning towards them. The other nice thing about revolvers is they just seem to be reliable. Like especially some of these older guns, they just keep going and they last forever. The classic iconical revolver is just pretty. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. So people like it because it's robust, it's simple to use, and it's reliable. Now, there are some major downsides when it comes to choosing a revolver. And honestly, I think the number one thing is capacity. For this example, I can only put 5 rounds of 38 special. That's 5 rounds that I have to make sure I get on target downrange in a stressful situation. And then reloading a revolver is not quite the same as reloading a semi-auto. I mean, you can imagine you got to drop the cylinder out, get rid of the casings, and whether use a speed loader or a speed strip, reinsert those new rounds and get back on target. If you haven't practiced that is a very difficult and time-consuming thing to do. So that is a big deterrent for me anyways, to choose a revolver as at least a primary carry for self-defense. The other thing is, and a lot of people don't talk about this, is if there is a malfunction when it comes to a revolver, normally those are a little bit harder to remedy in a speedy situation. Let's say you loaded the second cylinder and you get up on target and something didn't quite sit right and it locked up the cylinder of the revolver itself. You're not going to be able to advance that cylinder no matter how hard you pull that hammer. Maybe as you're shooting, one of the bullets progressed forward outside of the cylinder gap and wedged in between the cylinder gap and the cone of the barrel, and it's not letting you advance that. Those are going to be a lot harder to remedy if that's the malfunction, than it would be for a semi-auto. So though malfunctions may not be as common in a revolver, sometimes they're a lot harder to remedy in that situation. Another thing I see a lot is people say, well, I'll just, like ladies, they'll say, I'll carry it in my purse or in my pocket, and all I have to do is press that trigger. Well, what if some fabric or something else get wrapped around that cylinder while you're trying to press that trigger, inducing a malfunction? So to say that they're completely free from any kind of malfunction or malfeasance, I guess that's not the word, but any kind of issue is unfair. In my opinion, fixing a malfunction in a revolver is probably going to be a little bit more difficult than when it comes to a semi-auto. But is it a good choice? I don't know. It could be. It's up to you. It's not my gunfight. Again, though, gosh, isn't it just a cute little guy? One of the other things I forgot to mention that people do like about the revolver is that initial trigger press as you're advancing that trigger in double action takes a lot more effort. Some people feel that as a comfort, like it's almost a safety feature that they have to deliberately press that trigger back in order for the gun to fire. I can understand that logic, I get it, but it's not really a safety feature. It's more of a comfort feature. Now, in this example of my little 27 here, I could advance that hammer and run single action only, and the trigger press would be far, far lighter. And in my opinion, you're going to be more accurate that way, but that's just me. What do I know? Who knows? Should we talk about semis? Not about your semi. Let's talk about semi-autos. Don't get gross. The other option that we were going to talk about is a semi-auto. This is actually a Glock 19 I've been building. It's not done. Obviously, you can see it's still missing some things. Are semi-autos an option? Absolutely. I think more people are carrying semi-auto handguns than they are revolvers these days. And there's a lot of reasons why. Number one for me on my book would be magazine capacity. I can have, in this case, a 15 or 17, or if I wanted to, a larger capacity magazine on my person to where I can run those rounds and do a quick reload and get back on target if I need to. And I can carry more rounds compared to a revolver. If I'm carrying a speed loader or a speed strip, it's easier for me to carry more ammo in a magazine than it would be in my pocket with a speed loader. Along with the benefit of being able to reload quicker is normally striker fired guns like this, for example, semi-autos are normally striker fired, not always, is that trigger press is going to be more consistent every time I press that trigger. I'm going to have the same feel every time. I'm not worried about overcoming like a double action trigger, for example. Now that aids in follow-up shots, getting shots on target quicker, that kind of thing. It really makes it more efficient, at least in my perspective, as a defensive tool. Now I get it. Semi-automatics are not free from any kind of malfunction or downside. There's plenty of them. When it comes to semi-autos, like reloading, what we talked about at the beginning, some people have a really hard time loading that magazine and getting that slide rack. I get it. There are newer guns out on the market that make that way easier, especially for less experienced shooters or shooters that may have arthritis or hand issues. The other thing is they tend to be more complex. Taking care of them is a little bit more in depth than maybe it would be for a revolver. When it comes to malfunctions, whether, if it's a stovepipe or a double feed, some people have issues overcoming those in a stressful situation. But in my opinion, all of those factors can be overcome with proper training and a lot of time spent behind the gun overcoming those malfunctions. To me, it's almost a non-issue, but the possibility of a malfunction is probably a little bit higher in a semi-automatic than it would be in a revolver, in my perspective. Also, with some semi-automatic handguns, there's other things like mechanical safeties or grip safeties that you might have to overcome that some people that may have gripping issues have issues with. But again, that is all something that I feel like can be remedied through proper training or maybe just switching out the gun, I guess. It's really not up to me, it's up to you what you want to carry. But there still are, like I say, some grip safeties or thumb safeties that some people may have some issues with their dexterity to overcome when it comes to using a semi-automatic handgun. So really, how do we come to this conclusion of what's best? Honestly, I cannot answer that question for you. That is something that you have to overcome and answer yourself. In my opinion, what you should be doing if you're trying to figure out exactly what gun you want to learn how to carry and dedicate your life to is spend a lot of time on the range. If you have a lot of buddies that have a lot of different kind of firearms, spend some time with each one of those guns and get to know them and see how they feel. The way I react to recoil or a certain frame size or a certain caliber may not be the same as what you might feel and you might recognize as something that's comfortable for you. Owning a gun and carrying that gun for self-defense is an immensely personal question that has to be answered by the person carrying that gun, if that makes any sense whatsoever. If you like the simplicity and the dexterity of a revolver, then go to a revolver, but understand that reloading or some malfunctions might be a little bit more difficult to overcome, but with the proper training, you can become very, very efficient and effective with a revolver, just like with a semi-automatic handgun. If that's something you like and you understand and you want to explore more as far as carry options, because there's a lot of different sizes of semi-autos out there that offer comfortability and effectiveness of carry. So it's really a hard question for me to come here and tell you you have to carry this or that. That's something that's part of your firearms journey that you have to learn and endure and decide for yourself. So really, I didn't answer any questions for you, but hopefully I brought some more up to your mind. Anyways, what did I miss? What did you like about this video? Let me know, comment below, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.